Welcome to the Titusville Report. My name is Kevin Jeffrey, your moderator, and I'm joined as always by our Titusville contributor, Christopher Childs, as well as investigative reporter, Stell Bailey. And so we have a lot of things to go through this week on the Titusville Report, the first of which is the flock cameras. And so this is becoming a big issue, and what most people don't understand is that flock cameras, I think from what I understand, maybe 16 are across Titusville. And still, these cameras are surveilling citizens. Some of them are put out by private entities, and the government is backdooring itself through it. This is a problem. We have said it's a problem, and then you have the people that are flock camera splaining, and they're saying, no, you have no presumption of privacy in public. Tell me, am I wrong here?
You're not wrong, and I always go back to the David database, which is something we've talked about here on this show. And they have regulations, they have the DPAA, and so if they abuse that data system, so for instance, if a cop decides to look up a woman because she's extremely gorgeous and he wants to find out more information on her, he can be held accountable for abusing that system. With the flock cameras, that's not the same. There's no regulation on the flock camera. So just imagine there are so many cases out there where the David database has been abused. The flock system is going to be abused too.
And there's no auditing, there's no accountability. The government is able to go in, the government, okay, we're not talking about companies, and people try to muddy the waters there. A company has the right to do that if they want to. I have the right to say, no, I'm not going to that company. But the government is a completely different situation, is it not, Chris?
Yeah, I think so, and I think we probably need to push back on some of the people who are giving the cops this access to their flock cameras and say, look, have them ask you, hey, a crime happened, can you give me the footage for this? Because otherwise they're just collecting data, said this car went on this road at this time, this car went on it, and why do they need to know that you went and did something? And people are like, well, if you're not doing anything wrong, yeah, but what are they doing? What are they doing to surveil you? Why would they need to keep track of where you're going?
But that's the question. If you're not doing anything wrong, why would you need to surveil anybody?
Yeah.
That's the real question. So that can swing both ways. So in Titusville, we know that Titusville voted for this, and it was the Titusville CRA that voted for it, and they had a meeting on June 11th, 2024, where they authorized the use of flock cameras in Titusville. And so the people that were involved in this, on this CRA district committee, you had member Aker, you had member Cole, who is still on the city council, you have member Nelson, Jolynn Nelson, who's on the city council, you had Chairman Diesel, who is no longer on there, you had Vice Chairman Robinson, who is no longer on, member Ball, and guess who? Member Stokel, who approved this. And so now, with regard to this, there was a case, and a lot of these flock camera cases are making it up the stream to court now. And some people believe this case is going to be what ends the flock camera issue. In Carpenter versus United States in 2018, the Supreme Court ruled that long-term location tracking via cell phone data is a search under the Fourth Amendment, requiring a warrant. Courts in places like Norfolk, Virginia, and Illinois have drawn parallels to Flock's ALPR systems, noting that the aggregate location data from hundreds of cameras creates a digital mosaic of a person's private life, potentially requiring a warrant. Are we living in some kind of, this is like 1984? This is crazy, and people are excusing it. I call it flock camera splaining. What are we doing? Is this a bizarro world we're in?
I think if we lived in a perfect world where you could completely trust your government, then maybe. But the fact that people are out there saying, well, I trust my government to not abuse this system, when we've seen the things that we've seen here just on a local level of the dysfunction and the corruption, any erosion of our freedom should be questioned. And the fact that people aren't questioning it and they're just going along with it is very problematic, and why we're where we are today in Brevard County.
Well, and there's another case too that happened. I think it was more of a district, but there was a traffic camera the city had set up, and it was pointing right at the corner, but it was looking straight at someone's house. they were being surveilled 24 hours a day. They fought it. They finally won, I think, on appeal. I'm hoping that also will be another case that will go up, maybe hopefully to the Supreme Court, to say, look, you can't just surveil houses, and even though you're surveilling from public, but you're capturing private stuff,
Correct.
So you can't just surveil us all 24/7. It's not right.
It's astonishing that people don't understand the implications of this, and it's the thing that 1984 was made of. But the court cases, there are many court cases that are making it upstream, and we're going to find an answer to this pretty soon. Also, the mayor appointed to serve on the Legislative Policy Committee for the Florida League of Cities.
Yeah.
Interesting.
That organization, I really don't trust. They have a lot of connections to like the UN type plans and stuff, and I just don't trust that organization in general.
Are you surprised, Dale?
I'm not. I'm not surprised. I believe that there are certain politicians, including Mayor Connors, that is using this position currently as a campaign. He's using taxpayer money currently to campaign to elevate himself to a higher position. Titusville is just a stepping stone.
And they're just trying to move him right along.
And so by putting him on things like the League of Cities or creating this long resume of all these things that he's doing, that helps him get to that next level. And plus Sarah Stokel is a big part of the League of Cities.
And what's interesting is the consistency you see with the League of Cities around the country. I mean, they have at least one person on the city council around the country. And you also see the consistency in the pushback against the citizens. And so you're seeing this all over the country, and they believe the citizens are the enemy. And so they're taught through the League of Cities how to deal with these people. And so you're seeing this consistency where there's a divide between the city council and the citizens.
And the messaging that they're getting, I actually spoke with a council member about this, and just they're a part of the League of Cities, and the messaging they get is, well, it's just a select few citizens that are problematic.
That sounds familiar.
Yes,
Yeah.
it's repeated across this county. It's not just the city of Titusville. You hear it throughout all of the politicians, because it's almost like they brainwash themselves into believing, well, they're the problem. It's not me, and I don't have to listen to them, and I don't represent them. When at the end of the day, our founding fathers said this is what we were supposed to be doing.
Our city. It's not their city.
Well,
I mean, it's their city too if they're a citizen, but like citizens taking over their own city council meeting. I mean,
you know what it's like? It's like me using your house and you giving me authority over your house, and then I just totally take control and say, Chris, I'm going to assign you one room to live in, and do not leave that room.
And I keep speaking up, and you're like, why are you messing up my house?
Right.
It's like my house.
Right. This is what's happening.
Yeah, I know.
They've taken control of the house, and now they're telling you, the citizen, what's going to happen in your own house.
Shut up.
It's the craziest thing. We're living in a bizarro world. Did the mayor misuse funds with regard to the mayor's ball?
I think so. Well, so there's a Florida statute, 112.313, that says that public officials cannot use their official position to secure a special benefit for themselves or others. So if the mayor's using, city staff, city resources, or the prestige of his office to solicit donations for a private nonprofit, so not the city, then it can be considered a misuse of public position, and that is an ethics violation. I don't know if it's, I'm not a lawyer, but I mean, the statute seems to cover it. I think he's improperly using his position as mayor and the city of Titusville's logo on the invitations and such. So I think there needs to be an investigation into this and how much city funds have been used to raise funds for no matter how great the cause is. I think it's for veterans, the Air
Warbird Museum.
So it would be a great cause, but it doesn't mean that you get to use the city. So what if they needed to? What if Fight for Zero wanted to raise money? Would the mayor raise money? Use his public position to raise money for Fight for Zero?
I think that's an excellent idea. I think even if it's not the mayor, I mean, one of the council members could use Titusville's logo and raise money for whatever nonprofit they want.
Why not?
What great idea! You
Yeah.
just started something great, Mayor Connors.
That's
Now you just got to get the statute overturned.
He seems to be going against the statute.
No, I think what happens is he's not consulting with his colleagues. He's not working as a team with the other council members. He didn't even bring this forward in a council meeting and bring this up, this idea, this concept. He didn't get their input. He didn't even get approval to use the Titusville logo. I think that's the disservice right there. I think that's the part. I think the other council members should be involved in this. They should be working as a team.
So the rest of the members of the Judas Four didn't know about it?
I don't think they
So
did.
is he breaking the crowd away from them?
Well, why aren't they involved? If they're using Titusville, the city of Titusville's resources and logo, why aren't they involved?
And they better speak up during the next city council. I think there's one that probably will speak up, but the others need to speak up as well. The other three need to speak up. Unless they're like going along with this and they think it's fine that he's just breaking state statutes and using the city's resources and his prestige as an elected official of the city to raise funds for a private organization.
And there wouldn't be a problem if he just used his name, but he's using the city and his official title. That's the part that people don't
Put the
understand.
logo right on the thing.
But his name is not very good.
Well, he doesn't. He has to have two propaganda officers. He's got one with the city and he's got one personally hired.
Wow, and they still are not doing a good job. I guess you can't snowball people who know the truth. Jolynn Nelson wants money for TPD drones to save children in school. It's always about saving the children, isn't it?
Truly.
It's saving the children. And what is this about?
At the previous council meeting, they hired lobbyist Steele, and one of the questions she had asked was, and rightfully so, how can we advocate for more appropriations from Tallahassee for the lagoon? They're really wanting to see ways that they can fund more projects in the lagoon. And Steele basically said, well, we need, the easier ones are like for the police officers, the easier appropriation.
Why?
I think it's because they have a lot of support up in Tallahassee. When you use the police, you use military, it tends to, nobody wants to go against that, so they usually are quick to fund things like that. When you come to environment and water, it's a little more of an uphill battle because everybody's fighting for that across the state of Florida, right? So an example she brought up, she goes, yeah, like drones. We could invest money, maybe we can get appropriations for drones, and if there's a school shooting, we can send the drones inside. I can't even
bizarre.
say this. It's so bizarre.
So would drones be a good request?
Would what be a
Drones.
Are you talking police drones?
Drones,
Police
absolutely.
drones, yeah.
Absolutely.
And I'll tell you why I think about it. I think of school shootings, and you think about it. Drone can go in the school, tell the police where the shooter is without exposing anybody. And I understand if you run it.
Couldn't agree with you more.
Yeah, you run a drone into somebody, and it ends up cutting them. So you have that distraction where a police officer can get in.
I thought if my child was in a school and there's a school shooting, I am not waiting for drones.
To go and maybe cut them, she said, and maybe distract them.
What?
The drone would cut them possibly and distract them, so then
Cut 'em
the
how?
police could go in safely. Yeah, with the blade, and then the police officers could go in safely, because that's who needs to go in safely, the people with guns, and not our innocent children without guns. I don't know. Send in police officers with guns.
Do we have the music for the Twilight Zone?
But they hired this lobbyist. By the way, I am someone that runs a nonprofit, and within 6 months I knew how to do appropriations. So for somebody like Sarah Stokel to be sitting there for 8 years and to admit, I have no idea how to do appropriations, that's extremely problematic. Remember that when she wants to be a representative in Tallahassee.
This doesn't make any sense. We've covered that about the $30,000. Again, for a city who's probably going to raise taxes again. It's coming, folks. And water rates, so again, and it just keeps going. September 17th is the date for Judge Skinner to rehear arguments on Signgate and the Connorgate email scandal. So what do you think is going to happen here? Do you think that this should be just an open and shut case based upon Titusville's own policy that no public emails have any presumption of privacy?
I think
Why was this
yeah.
not just an open and shut case?
I think their argument this time is better and probably more geared towards the judge to approve it, because before they were saying the city of Titusville and the Titusville Police Department are parties of the Signgate, but
Which
the
is
judge
harder to
ruled
prove.
that no. Now they're saying, look, the emails about this are part of the evidence of this Signgate. So I think that's probably a better argument to get the evidence. And it just so happens that the city and the police department are the ones holding the records. So I think that it should probably do better than the last time.
So you think that, Stell, you think it's going to actually go through?
I think there's a good possibility, because if it doesn't, then they're not granting her due process. They take away her due process to defend herself. You can't. She's not going to be able to defend herself without all of the evidence.
Interesting that he wanted to do a rehearing on this. 'Cause
Right.
I thought that it was an open and shut case.
It's very different. I'm not used to it, and I haven't seen many cases like this. So I'm hoping that he's taking it very seriously, and that he's asking the right questions, and that he understands the severity of this. That, you know, it's public record. So he's setting an example here for the rest of the county, and he will embolden other cities to continue violating public records and withholding them and feeling like they don't have to give them over, especially in court.
But that's already happening in
Right.
Brevard County, particularly in Titusville. They are the king of withholding public records. Chris, do you think that this is in the emails there's anything significant? Could these have even been changed? Well, in the
Change
time
some
it's
of the
been
emails.
about 3 or 4 months.
I know,
now.
you always
could
worry
these-
about that,
Could these
and-
have been altered?
Yeah, and how can you even prove that they did or didn't? You know,
Could they have been destroyed?
there's some digital
We
trails.
know a
you can
famous
do.
politician that
Yeah.
took a sledgehammer to a certain amount
Yeah.
of emails.
They actually, the attorney for Vicki Conklin actually brought that up and said, because I asked him that, I interviewed him afterwards, and he said they would, if they did destroy it, they'd be able to find it. They'd be able to find a digital footprint. They would be able to know that they altered.
That would be another lawsuit to
Right.
get access to the physical device. But I think there's going to be enough stuff in there that and they already showed their hand about how many emails there were, 17,700-ish, you know. So they already showed how many there are. So if you're like missing stuff and stuff is missing from those emails, it's going to be pretty obvious. I think there's probably a lot of, you know, individual opinions in there about what's going on. And I think what they're looking for specifically is some coordination between the police department or someone at the city to instigate this and say, let's try to, you know, inflame her and try to get her to do something. So, which is entrapment.
It'll be very interesting to see what's in those emails. I mean, I don't understand. And if you don't have anything to hide, why you didn't just release the emails?
Yeah, why are you fighting this
Why
war?
are you fighting again? Titusville has a consistent reputation of fighting against its citizens. It's been pretty consistent, and it continues. Is Titusville enforcing anti-constitutional sign policies at the city council meetings? And so the law states what, Stel?
That you can hold signs. You can legally hold signs. So if you hold it in front of you, as long as it's not obstructing people's view in that room. What they cannot do is tell you that you have to stand in a certain area or selectively enforce something or create policies that go against the United States Constitution, which is your freedom of expression, right? They can make policies that say things like, you know, around with signs saying you can't put it on a stick, for instance, because, you know, if you're holding it up, you're obstructing people's views. I believe the policy that Titusville currently has is anti-constitutional, and I think it needs to be challenged. And recently what we've been seeing is they haven't been upholding any consistent policies when it comes to signs.
And we have video to that effect,
Yes,
right?
we do. And they're being very selective. So they're pinpointing certain people like Stan Johnston, who's a very loud advocate, known vocal. He criticizes the city often. And he always has signs with him, but he always tries to play by the rules. And what he'll do is he'll put them, next to him in his chair. He's not obstructing people's views. And when he gets up there to speak, he will hold it because he wants the council to see what's on the sign. And so they have been interrupting him in his 3 minutes and trying to have this debate on whether he can have this sign or not while he's speaking. But then just at the previous meeting, they had somebody come up with a big clock, and that was okay. Not a word, not a whisper, nothing.
So is it for my friends,
Yep.
for my enemies?
That is a consistent theme that we see in the city of Titusville. So they want to make it very abundantly clear that if you criticize them, if you don't agree with them, they're going to ostracize you and treat you less than. You have to be a part of the elite club to be treated special.
It's pretty consistent. So do you think that this is going to stop, Chris, or where do you see this going?
I'm hoping that the new attorney that comes in, attorney treasurer comes in, and she reviews some of this stuff and says, all right, let's stop that. Right? We can't have that.
Do you think they're going to actually listen to her?
They will probably have to, I mean, ignoring your own legal counsel will be really bad. I mean, that would be. I mean, worse than usual.
Yeah.
I mean, unusually dumb. So, we'll see. I think what would probably stop them is someone holding a sign and them taking them out, having the police officers escort someone out. That will trigger a lawsuit, and if anything, they'll either change it and settle that lawsuit before it gets to a court, so they don't even have to, try that, because they know they're going to lose. They're going to lose. I mean, they would lose easy. I would bet money on this one.
Well, a lot of the things that they do, they know they're going to lose, and it just doesn't seem to make sense that they do it, like public comment. Mm-hmm. So now that Palm Bay has reversed course, and they voted 5-0 the other day to reinstate broadcasting of public comment. Here's Titusville. They're researching it, right? Mm-hmm. What are they to do now? What do you think they're going to do on that, Stell?
I think they're going to continue trying to do all anti-citizen things. For them, they look at it as a PR nightmare, as a public image issue, right? They're not looking at it as this is a citywide issue. This is a dysfunction issue. We're not representing the people that we're supposed to be representing. And so they just have this outlook of, these are just the problem people, and we would rather give consequences for the whole city. So like when they're making these rules, they're literally thinking about a select few, maybe a redhead here and there.
The people outside, the outsiders coming in.
Right, when they're coming after the Port St. John residents, or so at the end of the day,
It's selective.
Yeah, it's selective, but if they do a rule, they'll be punishing all. So they have to be very cautious, and they already have an anti-citizen public image.
They're backing themselves into a corner if they try to enforce that. The Chief Lyle's yet to release all the videos. We're now
For February 7th?
Yeah, I think that we're going to be all sitting in our nursing homes, however many years from now, saying, is Chief Lyle going to release the video? We've been waiting on Chief Lyle to still release the video from February 7th, and he's going to still be there saying, no, I'm not releasing it. Is this just the craziest thing or what?
It is. But it just like with the Conklin case, the sign gate issue, there's legal cases coming. There's
some lawsuits coming down the pike?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that that's probably going to be the only way that you're going to deal with this. The only thing that these people understand is law, legal issues.
It's sad because the city has put themselves, and they're the ones that are wasting taxpayers on this. So when it comes down to it, when people say, well, when you're suing the city, you're actually suing the taxpayers. Well, they wouldn't have to sue the taxpayers if the city did the right thing to begin with. Same thing in the Conklin case. You're wasting a lot of time with that. Because if they just hand over the emails, you wouldn't have to keep prolonging it and going back and forth. And same thing with this case. If you just release all the videos, and And other legal cases, people are trying to do things in a good faith effort. They're trying to get public records, but I suspect there's more lawsuits coming in Titusville.
Good. And I think that it really needs to, in order to be able to get some of this settled, because it's you cannot allow there to be no accountability. Everybody has to be held accountable. Am I wrong, Chris?
No,
I don't
you're
care
right.
who you are. Everybody has to be held accountable.
It's just like when people say you need to comply with the police, and I agree,
Right.
you need to comply. If the city just complied with the citizens, there
Right.
wouldn't be a problem. There
Right.
would be no lawsuits. Just comply with your bosses. That's all you have to do.
They don't think you are their bosses. Chris.
Yeah, that's the
Remember
problem.
the analogy
Yeah.
of me taking control of your home.
Right.
That's what they've done. They've completely done it. 3 days of celebration for the U.S. Constitution beginning on September the 17th, sponsored by the Indian River chapter of the Daughters of the American Revolution. So there's a poll that says 85% of the American people have a favorable opinion of the Constitution. That's a little bit low. Honestly, I'm kind of shocked. Only 85%? We're in trouble. 85%?
It's still pretty high.
You think it's high?
I mean, it's still a good number, but yeah, I
So
see
that
where you're
means
going.
that what, 15%?
There's 50% that are delusional.
are out the
Yeah.
that don't have a clue. And this is why the flock cameras, I think, are in place. I mean, this is crazy.
That's all it takes.
That's going on. That's
And-
It takes 15%.
But anyway, so they're going to have a celebration of the U.S. Constitution. They're going to have a traditional bell ringing and awards banquet and a concert at Titusville High. And we're going to talk about that a little bit more because we really want to impress on you the importance of the Constitution. In lieu of the Constitution, once you get yourself away from the Constitution, every charlatan and every crook in the world is going to fill that space. You don't want there to be a time when we're not going by the Constitution. Ask some of the countries that you've seen that have fallen prey to that, and Venezuela is one of them. It's not going to be good, and so we want to make sure that that's the case. Where's Titusville in the Live Local Act lawsuits?
Yeah, I know they're not joining the lawsuit. I think Edgewater.
Is that a decision they've made?
Yes, I think during the last city council meeting they talked about SB 180, which is the storm bill or whatever. Is supposed to be. It was supposed to say, you can't put a moratorium on building and you can't put other restrictions and stuff. Within 100 miles of the latest storm path, the latest hurricanes from last year, they couldn't, which ended up being like 90% of Florida. Over like 90% of Florida, but the lawmakers were like, I think they weren't thinking like 100 miles from the edge of the storm. Because you watch the storm go by, I mean, it touched almost, coast to coast, if you're counting the whole storm, not just the eye of the storm. So the bill was covering the whole thing. So over 9% of Florida was covered, and but the city council decided that since they want to ask for money from the state with the appropriations and the lobbyists, they decided that they don't want to join that. They just want to do it through the League of Cities, do their way of lobbying.
Wait. So
Yeah.
they paid Jason Steele,
Yeah.
who's donated to all their campaigns, but they just admitted they could use the League of Cities. You do realize that your council members can actually take the initiative to go to Tallahassee themselves, correct? And save you taxpayers the $30,000 they just blew. You realize that, right? I go to Tallahassee and I can lobby as a citizen.
That's what I don't understand. And they have access to the representatives just
Yes.
like any other citizen. And if they went as a group, wouldn't that be more effective?
They may not be able to go as a group because of Sunshine Law.
They can't go as a group.
But they
What?
can go individually. Why aren't they taking that initiative to go
I
individually?
know Sarah Stokel has gone multiple times.
Anyway, so you continue to have, as Titusville continues to have the soap opera that they have, it keeps, thank you, Stell, because my arm I've gotten carpal tunnel from doing that. Titusville turns and turns and turns, and we'll turn with it next week on the Titusville Report. Thank you, Stell and Chris, for joining us.